So I'd like to introduce to the stage, music please, Mr. Justus Beek, the CEO of PLEK. Justus, the stage is yours.
Hello everybody. Everybody still awake? Yeah, a long day. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I got this one. So before I start, can I move around? You still hear me? Yeah. Okay. I don't like to stand here. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the inevitable merger of HR and internal communication. I think we already heard a lot about, say, more HR topics already during the day. And I'm going to talk to you about boosting organizational health. Is there a question before I even started? No, I can also. You can also stand here. Actually, that's better. I will stay here. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's better, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. I just like to walk around a bit. Boosting organizational health, and I'm going to explain you a little bit more about that later. Now, this is an event, and it's about internal communication. Who of you feels that or are really part of the HR department? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's not a lot. And what I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about PLEK later, but it's not going to be about PLEK what I'm going to talk about. PLEK is a platform for communication and alignment, and I can show you all kind of nice screenshots and explain what it is, but I'm not going to bother you with that. What I would like to do is share with you what we hear from our clients and how they look at the world, how we look at the world, and I'd also be very interested in your feedback on that as well. And if our customers or our clients are right, then you all soon will be part of HR. So get used to that. PLEK is a smart and sophisticated platform which not only helps you connect to people, but also to engage them and even to empower them. And that's both for your employees that work at the office, as for employees that are the blue-collar workers. We are a Dutch company. We're based here in Amsterdam, not so far from here, and we're totally bootstrapped. So every euro we spend, we have to earn ourselves first, and we do that by we need to prove our value to our customers all the time. So it's really about substance. It's not just a platform. It's also an approach in helping customers to become successful, and that's the only reason that we can afford to talk to you today. So I call this the social promise. And when we started 8 years ago, it was if you would talk to somebody, say, "Wow, we got something new. It's a social intranet," and then people say, "Whoa, what's that?" Of course, a lot changed since then, and many more people now know what this is. But this was really something new, and it came with a promise. And the promise, it's increased engagement, alignment, better alignment on strategy, even retention, knowledge sharing, a lot of stuff. And even today, if we sometimes read the tenders that we participate in, and then it starts with like maybe 5 or 6 lines with the most ambitious goals you'll ever see. And then after that, there's 20 pages of really depressing, very detailed lists of things that you need to comply with. All the little features, which are not related to the strategic goals. So the question is, do we achieve these goals? And I can talk for PLEK, but I also know that this is, well, we hear, if we talk about customers, about other products, it's a little bit the same. And basically asking this question already is answering them. I don't think that we do this. And that's also what we get from our customers. And one of the reasons, which was already mentioned before, is there are so many different departments aiming at your users, your employees, with the same message. And engagement or retention or knowledge sharing, it's not the ownership of internal communication. There's a lot of different departments aiming at these same people, firing a similar message from a different angle, and they use different tool sets and different channels. And one example I always find very curious is that a lot of companies use special onboarding tools. And that's just a tool that you only use in the first 30 days you work somewhere, and that contains a lot of content that's also on the intranet. And you are introduced there to people that you work with, but those people are not on that tool. I find that a really strange business process, but I know that there's companies that are very successful with that. Selling it, I mean. Because there are so many different channels that are still open, often what we see is that the intranet, the social intranet, the jammers, it's owned by internal communication. And the business of internal communication is sending out that message. So because of that, the intranets are fairly, top down all the time. You're just sending information. And of course, this is way too black and white, and it's not really true, because we saw already examples of very interactive sites, but it takes a lot of effort, and not everybody has the same budget as Dennis or Philips has, to have a lot of people pushing there, but it's hard work to make a social internet really something where people get active. Now, what is the result of this for an employee, of all these different people aiming at them with all these different channels, is that something like this. So there's different departments using all kind of different tools. You have an intranet, you have SharePoint, you have Jammer, you have maybe Teams, there's onboarding apps, there's a learning portal, there's still email. Who of you is in a WhatsApp group for his work? Okay, so there's still a lot of WhatsApp, which is also, people like to think that's personal, so why would I be in a WhatsApp group for my work? But it's really hard for internal communication to get people out of these WhatsApp groups, because it's not your responsibility. What you need is the middle, the management, the leadership to do that. And those are difficult to influence. Now, with the social intranets, or the social media that we're using, we had all these goals, with the strategic goals that we wanted to achieve. What is now the real impact we have on organizations? Can we measure this? And the reality is that if we measure this, it's often in how many reach, how many likes, how many shares. The question is, what does it mean? Not every like on every message has the same value. And I'll give the example. We have, like, one of our customers is like we have about 300 customers, and this is a consultancy company that you all know of. I will not use the name, but their CEO, they have like 4,000 employees. Their CEO started the week with a blog that would take about 1 minute to read, about his personal life, about his rabbits, his dogs, his kids, whatever. And at a certain moment, 80% of the 4,000 employees would start the week reading this personal blog by the CEO, which is like great engagement. So we're telling you see, this is really cool, that you should keep doing this. And we also were very proud. But if you look a little bit deeper, I mean, what was the real engagement there? Was it like really meaningful? I mean, of course, it adds value, because you share with the CEO, and what we saw the CEO of Philips running around with his dog. It definitely adds value, but can we not go further than that? And the truth is, at the moment, you're stuck with statistics. And I'm not going to explain this totally, but we have a lot of data points. We have a little information, but we do not really have insights. We do not really understand how different people feel and what is the effect of the interventions that we make as internal communication or as HR or whoever. So, not a surprise, but the way we look at it is that this social promise, it definitely delivered something. It's much easier to connect to people, to reach out to people. It's much easier for people to start their own group. And if you are like a front runner and the ambassador, there's very active people, but a lot of the people, they're at the sidelines and they just read. We think that we can go further than that, and this is also what our clients were asking us. Can we not do more? We want to be more ambitious. And we want to answer these kind of questions. Can internal communication and HR, can you really add to the business? Really to the bottom line, so not likes on the CEO talking about his rabbits, but that you really know how people feel in the organization, that you really know that they're aligned with where you want to go as a company, and that you get the real feedback on that. Or how are employees engaged and empowered? Are they? And what works and what doesn't? We heard the example of Danone, that you need to do a lot of surveys and it takes you a lot of effort just to find out information that you would like to have available always. And I think also an important thing is as internal communication or HR, you want to be able to empower your leadership, your middle management. Because a lot of, you can throw a lot of stuff at people, a lot of information, but in the end, they just need to do their work and the job, and there's the manager in between. And if you want to reach them, you also need to be sure that this manager is aligned and is also aware of what to do. We already heard the importance of training them, for example. And another important thing is, if you say that you can add this, if you can add this value, can you also prove this? Now, to quote a famous American former president, and those, for the one who guesses right afterwards, you get a free test version of PLEK. We think we can, which is not a surprise. An important concept for that is organizational health. Who knows about organizational health? Nobody. Good. We're going to change that. Organizational health. This is not physical health. This is something different. So this is the ability to align around a common vision, to execute against that vision effectively, and to renew through innovation and creative thinking. And the renew part is really important, so because your organization is not a static thing. It's a dynamic thing, and like, for example, if you the example before that was given by Danone, Ton, I think, you can spend now a lot of time and effort on finding out how people feel aligned with culture and stuff. Then you're going to make changes, and then you want to know what happened after the changes, so you want to do it again. So this is like a continuous process. And organizational health is really about, are we all sharing the same vision? Are we aligned with that vision? Do we all understand where we are going with the company? Do we understand why we are going there? Do we understand how we are going to get there? That's what we call, that's organizational health. It is, there's a quote from McKinsey, I also know one quote. Organizational health is how the ship is run, regardless of who's at the helm and what waves rock the vessel. So it's really, how do you how can you become successful as an organization? And the interesting thing about organizational health, by the way, this is what here you see, what are the drivers of organizational health? And it's direction, innovation and learning, leadership, motivation and work environment. These all add positively to, or negatively, but they all add to organizational health. And these percentages come from McKinsey. They do a lot of research for this. So this is all researched within their customer base. And you can also measure organizational health if you would like to. Those percentages don't add up to 100% because you can also, there's other elements as well that are more like individual, like financial rewards, external influences, operational things. So they are also important, but these are the main drivers. And the nice thing and the interesting thing about organizational health, it's directly linked to collective performance. And collective performance is directly linked to your business value. So we heard before it's difficult. You talked to the gentleman from Swoop. You talked about money. I mean, everybody who's trying to start up an intranet project at internal communication, it's always difficult to get funding because it doesn't really add directly to the business. It costs money, and everybody wants to be involved. So that's a recipe for a very long sales process. That's from our perspective. But that changes if you can link it directly to collective performance, because that really adds direct value, and that's not something that we make up. That's PricewaterhouseCoopers. They even link it directly to turnover increase. If your collective performance is higher, then you will be more successful as a company. So if you can boost organizational health as internal communication or HR, you can really add positively to the business value. Now, the way we look at the employee is, remember this slide, a few slides before this image, where you have all these dots aiming, all these things thrown at the user. We think you need to go really, really user-centric. And what you see here is, now we put the user in the middle. And that user, there's a lot of things coming to that user. And on the top, that's all the collective part, the organization, the strategy, the way we work together, culture, vision. But at the bottom, there's also a lot of individual stuff. And with your team, my work, my needs, my team, learning. If you centralize all of this around the user and respect the mental space of the user, there's only so much you can deal with. And always take the user as a start point and not your own department. So if I gave the example of the onboarding tool, maybe you don't need the best onboarding tool, but maybe you need the best onboarding experience for your user. And maybe that means that you're going to do this using, I'm not sure if you can do it, but maybe you can do it in Jammer. Or wherever you want to do it. But it's not, you don't need the best tool, because you're just going to throw another app at your employees. And that's also what we hear a lot from our customers. Again, not again another app. It's a nightmare of employees that get so many things thrown at them. So we really believe in a true integrated user-centric employee experience. And with that, you can empower your employees, but also your leadership. We, for example, now apply this to a large hospital. They have also about 3,000 employees working there. And they already use our platform as their intranet, but they are now also using it for their employee onboarding. And they also are using it to do their employee satisfaction measurements. It used to be done through a big survey that was sent via email, and they had to log in somewhere. The onboarding was done also in a separate tool. Now everything is built around the user, and they just go to the same platform, and then it's very easy for them. Now, if we go back to this place. And what we really believe in is this one communication and alignment platform that really puts the user, the employee, at the center. And that also supports data-informed decision-making. And I think that's really important. Remember that the whole the organizational health, what is really important there is that you get this continuous loop. You want to improve, you want to learn, you want to understand what's going on, and then you want to be able to react to that. And then you want to see what happened after you responded to that. And that data-informed decision-making is something that we really believe in. And I'm going to give you a few examples. Imagine you would really know how people feel. I mean, you all probably in your organization have to fill in like once a year, like a huge survey, how you feel. This is not personalized, it's for everybody the same. But what if you could do this multiple times a year and you really know how people feel and you could work with personas? And you're all from communication, you know personas. What if you would have in your organization real fact-based and instant personas of how people feel? If you talk about change, or if you talk about innovation, or when we all went hybrid, if you would have known what it did with people instantly, fact-based, and this is not a model-based survey, this is real facts what people give back to you, and then you would know how are they distributed in the organization as well. Because what we see is that these kind of personas which we create, they are present throughout the entire organization. So it's not true that this persona is IT and this persona is sales, for example. What we find is that these personas are everywhere in the organization, only in different percentages. And if you have these personas, what if you could start talking to them in what we call a smart conversation? And what if you know that this persona is... I didn't go over, by the way. I hope you read what was there. I mean, I can explain a little bit if you want to. But so how satisfied are you? How confident are you that we are going to get there together? And these personas are... they're clusters with data clustering. They're clusters of similar mindsets, people that feel and think the same about certain topics. And if you know that certain people feel the same about certain topics, it would be really great if you could have like a smart conversation and that you can start talking to them and to make it really personal. And of course it should always be anonymous because you want to respect people and you want to also give them a safe environment. But also you want to deepen it. So if you, after 3 months, so you find out, this example, you indicate that clear roles is important to you. More people indicate that. Would you like to contribute ideas in this user group, how we can improve this? This is like a very personal question, so we know what the person answered before, and we're gonna go into a deeper conversation with this person, still anonymous. And after 3 months, we can ask the same question, and we can say, hey, 3 months ago you said that this was very important. Has it improved now? So it improved. So what happened? So you really instantly know what's happening with people, and you can have like a really fact-based conversation with them. Another way how you can use this, for example, besides people with similar needs to yours, these people think that something else is also very important, but you didn't mention that. Can you explain why? And I'm not sure if it was said before, I think it was, but what ideally you would go over to all your, I don't know, 1,000, 10,000 or more employees and have like a cup of coffee with them, have like a personal conversation. And this comes very close to having a personal conversation at scale with everybody. And you can even go a step further, because all that information that you collect, you can of course always also segment it to different groups, because what you're going to find is what are the main priorities, what is really important for the people working at our company, and what do they think is really important on an organization level. And then your board can take a decision and say we need to work more on culture, or but that's company-wide. But maybe in my team, culture is not an issue. Maybe they think I'm the problem as a team lead, or whatever. So you don't know what are the issues on a team level. But with this technology, you do know. Huh? And that also enables you to have a totally different conversation with leadership, because you can show them fact-based what's happening within their teams, and you can discuss with them how they can work on that. And of course, you can also use partners for that. If there's like a consultancy company helping you with improving engagement or work processes. But the thing is, you take the assumptions out of it, because this is all fact-based. People fill this in, and yeah, leadership can really work with this. And then you get these kind of things. You get fact-based team blockers. So based on employee data, we recommend your team to focus on clear roles and responsibilities. And it's not us, it's coming from your team. They see this as an issue. So I'm right on time. I am. This is my final slide. So we really believe that we need to step up our game, and just giving a social tool where you can like and can share things is just not enough. You really want to know what's happening in your organization, and you want to be able to act on that. And then you can really start boosting your organizational health, and you can show your value to your leadership. That's it.
Hi, this is Verena here. I was very impressed by your slide with the 3 circles and the one about collective performance.
Yeah.
And I was somehow very much missing the human aspect. What about, it was, for me, the performance was standing out, but I was wondering, are we maybe missing something like, you know, well-being? Could that also be something that's missing? Or an indicator, you know, that we should maybe add in the future, so that we have happier people at the workplace. Would you be so kind to elaborate on that?
Yeah, now that's my limitation, I think, because this is all about people, and I think that with the whole social, what I call the social problems, we started giving people social tools, and then we thought everybody would be engaged, but it's not. So we want to hear the voice of the employee. We want to hear what people are saying. So this is why we're having these conversations with people. And we also can start talking back to them with this smart conversation. So it's really about people. How do you feel? And this is what's coming out is really, it's what people, the feedback people give. So if people say that well-being is for them really important, this is the feedback you will get. And when you're a team lead, and this is, yeah, it'll be fact-based, so they will tell you, yeah, this is something you need to work on. So you don't need to work on your processes, you need to be on the people side.
Please bear with me that I'm challenging you a little bit on this. It's just, it feels like, you know, it's a lot of smart data, and in the end, you know, we're in a human business, we're all human beings. So sometimes, you know, I just wonder what we human beings are actually doing with all this data. So. But it's amazing, you know, that we have so much smart data available now, providing recommendations. I'm just thinking ahead and wondering, what do we humans going to do with all the data, and how are we going to make use of it?
I think that's the challenge. So how do you get from data to really insights, so that you understand what's in the mind of people? And I think that's the key. Yeah, but we can afterwards. I can show you a little bit more. More questions?
Hi, so actually I wanted to understand a bit more the persona cards that you showed us. In my organization, we are doing People Pulse, like 3-4 a year. It's another team driving that exercise, but yeah, I've never seen something similar to persona cards, can you do it like for each individual that in the organization are taking part in the survey? How does it work? Thank you.
Yeah, it's what you do is you have a conversation with people, and this conversation it's not a survey, because in a survey, but that's very technical. But in the survey, you take certain assumptions. It's based on a model. We just have a very open question, and we ask people, what is important for you? And then they say, for me, I don't know, hybrid working is important. And then we say, okay, how is hybrid working organized for you? Is it good or bad? And so we ask people first, what is important for you? And then we ask them, how is that working for you? And all the information, and these conversations, they could be about anything. They could be about the big change that you're in. They could be about the satisfaction, so the employee satisfaction survey. They could be about big changes. And you just ask people, what is important for you and how is this working for you? And then after a few months, you could have the same conversation. So last time you said that this is really important for you. Has it changed? Has it improved? Has it become worse? Why? And so you can really have like a personal conversation. It comes really close to drinking like a cup of coffee with somebody. And based on that data, we have clustering software, and we group people in clusters, which we call personas. And there's no assumptions in there, but so far, always we end up like with 3 to 6 clusters of personas within organizations. And yeah, so this is really fact-based. We ask people, what is important for you? And from there, we develop the conversation.
Oh, hi. I work for a team, and the communications is very functional. They're not really open to employee-type communications. So what advice would you give to someone like me? I'd love to do more employee-focused communications.
So I didn't get the first part of your question.
So I work for a team, and they're more involved in sort of finance, transformation communications, and that's what I tend to deliver in the most creative way possible. It's a bit challenging, but I'd love to do more of the employee-type communications, but I just don't have the capacity. How do you... And the team also, they're not very engaged when it comes to those type of communications.
Yeah, that's a tricky question, because it depends on a lot of things, like what you're using now and what kind of organization you have. But in the end, what we see is that what was really important that you can show the value you have as internal comms or HR for the leadership. For leadership, so you need to really be able to prove how you can improve things. And yeah, it really depends on the situation. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi. Just curious, collecting all the data, how do you pass a privacy officer?
Yeah, of course we need to be fully compliant, and we are an ISO certified company, and all this data is anonymous.
Yeah, but can you be anonymous when you repeat the questions and you say, hey, this is what you answered 3 months ago?
Well, in the end, you can always link things back to, if you would look deep dive in the data, and because you somewhere you store like an ID, but it's not a name. So this is not so as a manager, you'll not be able to see ever who answered which question. In the end, of course, we need to be able to connect the dots somewhere deep inside the tool. But for example, this also means that if you want to use this within a team, the team needs to have like a minimal size. Otherwise, you could relate this back to who gave which answer.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Justus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, thank you very much.